title of this presentation is Bias in Referencing. Now, bias is where you skip over something rather than dealing with things on their merits. You take shortcuts, you generalize, you stereotype. This can take place in all areas of life, but it can hurt you with respect to referencing, with respect to publishing. Let's talk about how this can work and give you some examples. Now, classification, as I've talked about before, has benefits. You need to be able to cut through the information, to slice and dice it in forms of matrix. But people classify within their culture based on conversations, based on institutional influences, based on prejudices, based on social media. Let's give you some examples of this and then go back into talking about how it can hurt you in references. Well, say you're out with friends and you see someone wearing a sports jersey, you happen to support that team, so you go, right, that person must be awesome, they like that team, off you go. On the other hand, you're out with friends and you see someone who reminds you of someone else who you didn't like, so you avoid them, okay? Point is, you've got a classification scheme, you've applied it, you've gone and had a conversation with somebody, or you've avoided somebody based on things that don't necessarily mean they're a good person or not. Should you do that? Shouldn't you do that? Obviously, that's up to you. But you need to be aware of biases, particularly with respect to academic references. Not only with respect to when you're writing, but particularly when you're reviewing, because these things can play out in several ways. So let's talk about preferences. Do you like blue? Do you like orange? What table would you prefer? Well, they're actually the same size. One's just turned on the side. It's a visual trick. So the effects of unconscious bias. It may not affect every single interaction that you have with a person or you have with somebody's work, but decisions made on it can compound significantly over time. So if you're reviewing a paper and you discover somebody's from an institution and you've had a bad experience with someone from that institution, don't take that into account when you're reviewing their paper. You need to judge the work on its merits. If an institution has a bad reputation and everybody starts to reject publications from that institution, that can really hurt investigators who happen to be working at a place that have just been tarred with this brush. Be very careful that you're just judging the work on its merits. You want your work to be judged on its merits, you need to judge other people's work on its merits, okay? You might meet someone at a conference. They might turn out to be really arrogant, nasty, and so on. You need to put that aside when you judge their work, because it's the quality of the work and it's the contribution to engineering, the progress of engineering, that's important. So you need to put these factors aside. You also need to hope that people will put these factors aside when they're looking at your work. So here's some ways that things could be biased. You might look at someone and say, well, this is their first publication in their field, in this area. It's a difficult area. Why should they be in this area? It's outrageous that somebody's just jumping into this area. It might be way outside their field. They may have had a long break from publication. What have they been doing in that time? They've produced nothing in the past 10 years and now they've jumped back in again. What's happened to their career? Okay. So, and looking at another one. Well, this candidate got a $25 million grant. Clearly this work must be fantastic. Don't allow these factors to influence your thinking about the work or the quality of the work. If possible, do not look at the authors. Do not look at the institution. Take those factors out of it, okay? It's about the quality of the work, whether it's reviewed, whether it meets the criteria that you've been asked to judge by. Just look at the work based on its merits. Now, this can be difficult in small circles because you may be working in a particular field. There might be 5 people working in that field internationally, and that can be hard. If you know the players very well and you've worked with them, you can instantly recognise who they are. So it's difficult to take that out. If you've worked with them and you've had difficulties with them, it can be hard to put that aside. But you need to do that for the benefit of the profession.